Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate, Uncut and After Show. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they premiere. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Speaking of Patreon, I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of you who do support me on Patreon. So a massive shout out of appreciation to Abraham Mohammed, Adam, Adrian Quintana, Alistair Main, Blue Ridge Ranger, Burn Fat Till My Stomach Is As Flat As The Earth, Chow Yun Cat, Chris Hillman, Dank, Dave Rakia Gafford, David Robinson, David Wayne Foster, Does Studio 68, Dick Earth Skeptic, Edwin Johnson, Erwin Jennisons, Felix Hung, Fireball X, God Rockin, Henrik 86, Joshua Balsimo, Kirsten Smith, Liam Nedrick, Life is Short, Maria Neelands, Matt, Missouri Bear, NA Literalist, Nagara, Nathan Thompson, Naibai, Rob H, Skeptic936, Steve ALM, Texas Mike, TheFlatEarthChannel.com, The Real Gabster, Tina Baker, Unbelievable Productions, and Windrider. So massive shout out, thanks and appreciation to all of you for supporting me on Patreon. Now we are joined by, again, a whole bunch of people in Discord, and I don't think anybody in G+, so I'll raise the mic on them and you can enjoy their dulcet tones while I set up for today's live show. Well, this is a lively start. Happy days.
Oh, I didn't know you were recording. You just got on.
Just always assume I'm recording. Always.
I know, but it's almost showtime, and normally you're on a half an hour before, so I figured you were doing something.
Yeah, I was calling the bank to explain why I've got no money and ask them for some more.
Hey, can you give me a good line? Maybe I need it one day.
Yeah, 30 minutes on hold waiting for the bank. That's why I'm running late.
Oh, that's it, huh? Now, that show yesterday that I caught the latter half of with you, Riley, Clown Eraser, but our friend Danny Faulkner. Can you overview that? I haven't had a chance to hear the whole show.
I'm going to mirror it as is Quantum Racer himself, so he'll mirror it, I'll mirror it, it'll go out. It's just, at the moment, it's rendered at very low resolution if I want to download it, so I want to wait till it's at least at a decent resolution. I don't know why it's like that, but Anthony had a lot of technical issues. Hopefully it's not just recorded at that resolution, otherwise, after I didn't check that. I'll check. But you're not talking about the production of the... You're not talking
Can you just give a summary of what the show was about?
Yeah, I was going to say, you're not talking about the production of the show, though, are you? You're asking how it went in terms of pulling apart his complete and utter nonsense. I mean, he's out of step with the current raft of pseudo-scientist priests and what they say about space and various other aspects of space and gravity. He hasn't got a clue. He's a clueless moron, and that was exposed. So he doesn't know what he's talking about. That's the bottom line. He might be an astronomer, but he doesn't know what he's talking about.
What document was on the screen that I saw? What was that? Was that an email or was that a writing?
No, that's what he published on Answers in Genesis.
Oh, I see. Okay, so he put something out, and then you guys were going over it.
Yeah, it's full like write-up report, whatever, about the FIEC, and mainly Nathan Thompson and general rebuttals to Flat Earth. It's just his rebuttal to the current situation in terms of gas pressure without a container, his assertions of gravity. It's just his side of the story. And, he doesn't understand what entropy is. He didn't mention entropy when describing the second law of thermodynamics. Equivocated. It was just a long string of logical fallacies that were all pulled apart and highlighted by Quantum Racer. His ultimate rebuttal to how can you have gas pressure without a container was to say, just go outside. That's his actual rebuttal.
Yeah. I remember he came out with a statement that the air above the airplane wing was less air, so it qualified as a vacuum, which cracked me up. To have someone that educated to say that.
I mean, they need to requalify what a vacuum is into being just a lower pressure zone. So if they can equivocate, or draw false equivalence rather, with the difference in pressure, that's ultimately their argument, isn't it? What about the gas pressure differential? Well, without a container, you can't have a gas pressure. To have a gas pressure differential, it's a delta of gas pressure. But that's their only rebuttal, so that's what he's using. So his way in is to segue into differentials rather than the required antecedent for the gas pressure in the first instance, which is a container, which they don't have. So his rebuttal is, yeah, but we do definitely have a sky vacuum, and look, we've got gas pressure. Just go outside, there it is, therefore we must have gas pressure violating the second law of thermodynamics. No, we don't, that's our argument. Just go outside, we experience gas pressure, therefore it must be pressing on something, as opposed to therefore the sky's a vacuum, because I believe so. That's his response.
Yeah, it's a sad day for true science when these clowns get up there and represent science, which is good when done right and properly within rules. I mean, when you say vacuum and I say vacuum, that word could mean the machine in your house that picks up dust from your carpet, or it could mean 10 to the minus 17 torr in outer space, the so-called outer space of heliocentrism. So which one is it that you're talking about? But to say that the air above an airplane wing is considered the vacuum that's associated with outer space, like 10 to the minus 17, is so ludicrous. I mean, this guy is, like you said, he doesn't know what he's talking about, and yet he's got all these diplomas and degrees after his name, and people believe him.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show on Facebook and Twitter. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now, we are joined by 10th Man, the Adam Meakin, Arwin, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon, guys.
Greetings. Hey, Adam. How you doing?
Not bad time for you, mate.
Good, good.
Good. Let's rattle our way through housekeeping. There's lots to discuss today. So, any signs of a physical Earth curve edge, formerly known as the geometric horizon?
Not from anywhere on this Earth.
Well, it's somewhere over there, like in the middle of the field or the ocean. There it is.
Somewhere.
I know it doesn't look like a horizon. It's
Over
just an
the
arbitrary
rainbow.
mark within a photograph, but That's a geometric horizon. That's where it's supposed to be.
Supposed to be? I don't give a crap about supposed to be. Where is the physical geometric sphere edge horizon, formerly known as Earth curve? Where's that? Show it
It's
me.
there.
Well, it's there, but you can't see it because everything is all being projected, displaced, including the horizon itself.
Am I stuttering? When I say physical geometric, those words have meaning. You realise that, Arwin? Physical geometric, not apparent and over there somewhere because it's hologrammatically projected. That's no longer geometric.
Isn't it?
Nathan, ask your
No!
question again.
Hold on,
to Arwin
Tenth.
from
What do you
the
mean,
top.
isn't it? What does geometric mean to you, Arwin?
It's about spatiality, basically.
Or
Right.
geometry?
It is, right? It is about spatial relations and all that. Positions.
The geometric part of it limits it quite severely to a very specific thing. It's geometric value based on R. That's what the geometric horizon is. Not based on refracted R. That's a contradiction in terms. Just R. That's what gives you the geometric horizon. R and your height.
Right. And that is assuming that you see everything roughly as is, which the ballers denounce that notion.
It's not assuming anything, it's just geometric. That's what geometric is. I don't have to disclaim anything about what we're seeing or doing, it just is geometric. Can you break this down better than I can, Adam? Just so when I say the word geometric, if people are going to hand wave that and say, oh no, well no, let's talk about something that isn't geometric then. No. You've got a geometric horizon, and maybe people don't understand what that actually means in real terms and what it must be in order to be geometric. Maybe, Adam, you can help me out, because maybe I'm not making myself clear.
You were to me. I mean, all I would add to that is it's a physicality. It's your starting point. Whatever you're going to discuss, add in terms of refraction, it's the starting point that you have to then build all these other factors in. If you're going to say you're honourable, then you have to be held by that initial geometry.
So
Right.
there's no wiggle room.
What if there was no... I'm getting echoes here.
That's me just talking through you, sorry.
Anyway, but what if there is just no possibility to ever see any geometrical edge because supposedly in the real world everything is always just visually warped, so you can never see it?
Then we get the rebuttal
No
they
matter
give us,
what you
are we?
presuppose, even.
Then we get the rebuttal they give us. We do not see the geometric horizon. Well, then we don't have one.
Well, you could have one, but it wouldn't be a horizon.
No.
But you
like
can't
I say,
see it.
we've got when you say geometric, right? That doesn't involve not seeing it or it being something else. It's either a physical geometric sphere edge horizon as depicted in their model, marked with an X, the starting point based on R, or it isn't. It's just that simple.
Nathan,
Right.
Nathan, may I ask Arwin a question? Geometric, doesn't that mean Earth measurement?
Sort of, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
then if it's Earth measurement, it means it can be measured.
I can't say at this point.
What do you mean you can't say? You found the alien dating site, Speciality. Come on.
What? No, there's no sight of that. There's no sight of that. That's my work. It's in my head.
Come on, Arwin. Earth measurement. It must be if you measure it, then you've seen it to measure it. So if they got X mark in the spot, it has to be measured.
I don't know what's going on. Maybe I've been listening to Chaiki too much, but I'm getting confused.
Gosh. Good idea.
Least you can say
He does
I'm
kind
a
of
bit
have the
confused.
tendency to melt your brain, you know.
Hear that, Globeheads? See what Arwin just did? That's something beyond your capabilities. Arwin's just said, "Oh, maybe I don't understand. I'm a bit confused." Then, wasn't that easy, Arwin?
Yeah.
So easy.
Because then I can move on
I
after
just
that.
don't know. That's fair enough. No worries.
Yep. Can take a baller an hour, though. and then they end up not doing it and just leaving.
Just reassert your original question as a statement, and then we'll go around in circles for the next 10 minutes. How about that? That sounds more globehead to me.
Right. Or you just move on to the next question as a red herring maneuver.
Let's do
Which
exactly
will
that.
end up in the same situation, so you can then move on to another subject, or even better, to the original subject over again.
Exactly. You didn't do that. You just said, maybe I'm a bit confused. We can go over the geometric physicality of a sphere edge horizon till we're blue in the face. That's no worries at all. But we won't, because we're going to do housekeeping. So any signs of axial rotation?
No, none of
Nothing.
the Earth base.
Oh, the wind is blowing hard today. Must be due to Earth spinning, right?
Just making casual chit-chat about the weather, or is that proof of axial rotation, Arwin?
Well, the wind does seem to be going in one direction.
Always?
Does it? I don't think so.
No, just now.
Oh, right now it's going in one direction. I see.
Yes. And so if I presuppose that that's happening at all times at a constant speed in the same direction, then I could presuppose that that might be evidence that perhaps the Earth may be spinning after all. But I see that the chances is very remote.
Formulate it into a logical fallacy, no worries. If the wind is travelling straight right here, right now, for Arwin, it is. Therefore, the Earth is a sphere. What do you know? It is travelling pretty much straight at the moment. Therefore, Earth's a sphere.
Well, isn't that what Arwen was struggling with the geometric horizon, because it was presupposed?
Yeah, if you just presuppose it, then you don't need it to actually be a physical geometric horizon at all. You just presuppose it and move on from there. Everything else is based on and hung around the idea that you have this R value that's not in existence, can't be seen, can't be measured, isn't real. But you've presupposed it at the beginning of whatever it is you're making a conclusion from, therefore what do you need to measure anyway? You've just assumed it.
Yep. But anyway, no actual rotation detectable on the Earth.
Oh well. Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
Why would you detect that?
Hey, Chocolate.
Good morning, guys. Why would you detect any spinning if it's supposed to be spinning?
Normally because they presuppose it's spinning, as opposed to have a spin to detect.
Well, I think because with things spinning, yeah, in general, like gases stay in their place as things move, physical things move and have momentum in their rotation and all that. But the ballers say that that's never the case, and that air does quite the opposite and actually spins with physical objects, even though they can't actually demonstrate that.
That wouldn't yield the claimed proof of Earth spinning, though, which is Coriolis deviation. If that was the case, you wouldn't have any deviation or deflection to observe from a claimed to be non-inertial spinning reference frame that is a ball Earth turning at 15 degrees an hour. You wouldn't observe that if that was the case, even though they can't demonstrate that anyway, and it's a claim coming from the inertial reference frame, which isn't Coriolis. It's irrelevant because it wouldn't give you the proof that they claim they have in the form of Coriolis deviation.
Right.
Well, so far they're 0 for 2. The Earth is spinning, but we can't detect it. There's a geometric physical horizon edge, but we can't see it. So let's keep going. So they're 0 for 2.
Right. They spend all their time with the Earth spin to try to justify why it wouldn't have any natural physical consequences that a ball would be spinning with gases around it and all that. But for some reason, though,
but at the same time, telling us
they will still
how it
point at the
spins.
tornadoes, though. Despite all that, that's even the more confusing about it.
Oh, yeah,
They should have just left Coriolis out entirely, but apparently they needed to do it like that.
We went through that a couple of days ago for Sean Hawkins. Go on, Chocolate.
Well, you got to point out things that are actually spinning, right? In order to give you some foot in the ground, some type of leverage. So look at this. The Earth's not spinning, but look at this hurricane. Oh, that proves that the Earth is spinning because that's spinning.
Yeah,
that's the cute little trick they do.
Correct. Absolutely spot on, Chocolate. They need something to be spinning, and they haven't got it. So here you go. Look at that. That's spinning, and that's Coriolis. That proves Earth spinning. Right? See that spin? That's because Earth's spinning. Because I presuppose it. It's got nothing to do with Coriolis, but I'm going to make that assertion. I'll even put it in a paragraph about Coriolis effect, and the idiots will read it and assume that that's true, even though Coriolis is not actual deflection you observe from a position where you're spinning, but non-inertial. In other words, your reference frame is the spinning reference frame that, from your viewpoint, isn't moving at all, even though it's spinning. And what you observe outside of your spinning reference frame seems to curve, because you're spinning. Well, that's Coriolis effect. It's not all to do with anything that's in the inertial reference frame, nothing to do with planes or balls or anything else. Merely your observation of those things seeming to curve when they're not. But if you don't have that, i.e. you don't look up a plane and go, hey, that plane looks like it's curving, must be me rotating underneath, shortening the flight time of that aeroplane. Well, because that doesn't happen, they've got to point at something that spins if they're going to assert we've got a Coriolis proof of Earth spinning, which they haven't.
Yep.
Hey, Paul.
Good morning. How you guys doing?
Very well. Good to have you. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
I still had one more question, but I was muted. About like, why is nobody, or why isn't it possible to fact check Wikipedia on the Coriolis effect? Why isn't there any push on that? Like, hello, this is incorrect. This is not the Coriolis effect. Why aren't people complaining, trying to edit that out of the way?
Because there's a current rhetoric religion that 99% of the Western world are under called heliocentrism, and it claims it's got a proof of Coriolis deviation in the form of a deviation at 15 degrees an hour as Earth rotates underneath stuff. So they need to convolute that. If someone comes along to the Wikipedia page and says, hang on a second, if they actually define Coriolis effect correctly, then we would all quickly realise that we don't have one on Earth. Coriolis is real, but we don't have one on Earth because it's not spinning. So they need to point at something that's giving them a spin to confuse and convolute the fact that we don't have an Earth that's spinning.
Yeah, you're right. I'm just disappointed that there should be at least like attempts visible. Like, okay, there is a mention, like there is a conflict about the opinion of whether Coriolis affect this or that. And it's just nothing. Just the standard story as it is, and it's been like that for a long time now.
There is one.
Yeah, but as Nathan,
Just accept it, man. Just accept it. Coriolis only works out when you're shooting bullets, right? And when you have pendulums, right? It doesn't affect planes. It doesn't affect hot air balloons or anything else floating around in the atmosphere. Just
Hey,
things that are in the atmosphere for 2-3 seconds.
chocolate,
No problem.
chocolate. Is that pendulum attached to a building that's attached to the Earth? That's spinning.
Yes,
it
balls
is,
thrown over,
unfortunately.
balls
No.
thrown have deviation, but a plane flying through the air doesn't. It makes sense, damn it.
Hold on. Hold on, 10th man. No. So the pendulum, the reason they claim that that's proving Earth spins, I'll put my hands in the air and say I did the same thing. When I first got to this subject, that was how I debunked, or thought I debunked the pendulum's claim. But you haven't in that statement. I'm really sorry to do this to you. The pendulum's claiming to swing on one axis. Forward, backward, forward, backward, forward, backward. Doesn't deviate, ever. Yeah? So, even though you're seeing the pendulum knock over the dominoes, it's not the pendulum. The fact that it's attached to the building doesn't change it. If you've got a clock with a pendulum, it's still going to swing back and forth regardless of what it's doing. Do you see what I mean? It's just moving in one frame of reference. But because it's claimed that the Earth spins underneath the pendulum, what you're viewing is an apparent deviation as the Earth spins underneath that fixed frame of the back and forth that the pendulum gives you. So that's how they claim to prove Earth is spinning underneath at 15 degrees an hour with that pendulum. Well, if it's spinning underneath the pendulum at 15 degrees an hour, it's spinning underneath, as Chocolate just pointed out, hot air balloons, drones, helicopters, aeroplanes, anything that's left the non-inertial reference frame. Now, the fact that the pendulum is swinging attached to the building is irrelevant of the fact that it's swinging back and forth. Yeah? That's the independent motion that it has in its non-inertial reference frame. See what I mean? So the deflection you're seeing is a not actual deviation.
Yeah, but the way I look at it is the causes of Coriolis is you got to have two reference frames.
Correct.
So one's the non-inertial and one's the inertial.
Yeah,
So
in the case
if
of the pendulum, the pendulum's swinging back and forth through the inertial reference frame. Doesn't matter that it's attached to the non-inertial spinning reference frame in the form of the building, because they've got it on a little, whatever the mechanism at the top of it is designed to allow it to spin freely as the Earth rotates underneath in the second reference frame. So yeah, your pendulum is the inertial reference frame, but you're viewing it from the non-inertial spinning reference frame. So you're watching it seem to deviate in the non-inertial spinning reference frame. Seem to, it isn't. It's just what you see as you rotate underneath it, or a claim to.
Okay, maybe I'm wrong, but let's delve into it, because the way I see it is they have some kind of mechanism in the actual pendulum that deviates it. But if the building is attached to the non-inertial reference frame and the pendulum is attached to the building, which is attached to the non-inertial reference frame, isn't that considered all to be the non-inertial reference frame?
No, in the same way as a gyro spinning in multiple axis and is separated and is in its own fixed reference frame, spinning on one axis, constantly in the same, plane. And then if you turn the gimbal around it, it will stay where it is, and the gimbal's moving relative to it. But obviously, it's still attached to the gimbal. Likewise, the pendulum is still attached to the building. As I say, I made this same mistake. Well, that can't be correct. It's attached to the building. Well, yeah, it can be, because your gyroscope can be attached to the building, but it's only doing it in one axis, though, with a pendulum, rather than multiple axis with a gyro. But the principle is the same, according to them. The main point of this is they're claiming Earth's rotating underneath that pendulum. And if it's rotating underneath the pendulum, it's rotating underneath helicopters and planes and balloons and everything else. It can't not be. It doesn't. Therefore, the pendulum's the only example, or the gyro, or the pendulum, or as Chocolate pointed out, things that are in the air for less than a second, like a bullet.
Well, that's where I was leading to, but thank you for the correction. If it spins underneath the pendulum, then it must spin underneath an airplane that's in the air longer.
Exactly. I think they want us to argue about the mechanics of the pendulum, because that doesn't debunk anything. Whereas if you point out, okay, well, if you're claiming the Earth's rotating underneath that pendulum, then it's also rotating under a drone, because that's also in the inertial reference frame, same as the pendulum, because it's left the spinning reference frame you claim Earth is. So therefore, what, you launch a drone in the same exact building and Earth rotates underneath it as it hovers? No. No one's ever observing anything rotate underneath drones at 15 degrees an hour. No one takes off in a helicopter and has Earth rotate underneath at 15 degrees an hour. Flight times are not shortened when travelling west, because Earth's rotating underneath them. None of the effects required to create a Coriolis effect exist on Earth. Unless you spin a roundabout and watch something that's not on it.
Well, the definition is an apparent deviation. It's not actually deviating.
No. If you're on a roundabout and you're looking at a lamppost, as you spin around, the lamppost looks like it's moving. Well, it's not. It's concreted into the bloody ground. But because you're spinning underneath it as you look up at the lamppost, it looks like it's taking a curved path. But wouldn't you know it's actually concreted, completely stationary, not moving at all? It's a not actual deflection because you're rotating underneath it.
I think it's just an absolute clown show with this nonsense that I can stand and stare at this pendulum and see it apparently deviate, and that's supposed to prove the Earth, movement to me. But the plane that I take off in New York and fly 2,000 miles to California or Arizona or something, that doesn't show any deviation. No, no, I don't have to worry about that then. Just staring at a pendulum. That proves the rotation. Great.
Be careful. Be careful. Once you get on your plane, nothing's not even remotely connected to Coriolis effect at that point. So when you're on your rotating roundabout looking at your lamppost, you are on a rotating platform observing stuff. Seem to deviate. That's Coriolis. It will always be referenced, without exception, from the spinning reference frame. So if I'm observing Coriolis, I'm an observer in a stand, watching a ball get kicked according to Neil deGrasse Tyson, and from my vantage point in the stand, it looks like it curves as Earth rotates under the ball. That's Coriolis effect. Me observing it look like it's curving. As soon as I describe what the ball does, Doesn't matter how I describe it, I'm not describing an observation of the ball from a non-inertial reference frame. I've got to be looking at it, describing what it looks like it's doing. That would be looking like it's curving when it's not, to be Coriolis. So if I'm detailing being on a plane, I'm not talking about Coriolis effect. I might, as a flat earther, be describing the consequences we don't have that would lead to Coriolis effect. So if I'm on a plane detailing the lack of a shortened flight time, what I'm detailing is the lack of the requirements that would give you Coriolis effect. That would be Earth rotating under the plane, shortening the flight time. That's what you'd need to have Coriolis. And if the globehead on the other side of this argument starts talking about what the plane's doing, he's not talking about Coriolis anymore, and that's what they have to. That would be an observation from a non-inertial spinning reference frame, like a roundabout, of a lamppost in an inertial reference frame, not actually moving, just seeming to. So as soon as you detail the lamppost being concreted into the ground as a globehead, you're not talking about Coriolis anymore, because it's not the observation that you're detailing.
Well, it's a train wreck anyway, because the minute they say Coriolis proves something, you say, oh, so then Earth is spinning under the airplane, but the airplane takes the same amount of time to get there? No, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah, exactly. Zeus cut out and trimmed out the discussion between myself and Rumpus, where he did exactly that. We established with him what Coriolis is, Earth rotating underneath at 15 degrees an hour, and then we ask him, is Earth rotating underneath at 15 degrees an hour with reference to aeroplanes? And his answer's got to be yes, because that's the claim Earth that you have if you've got Coriolis. And that would shorten flight times. The cause of Coriolis would shorten the flight time. Now, the shortening of the flight time isn't Coriolis effect, that's got nothing to do with it. The observation from the ground of you seeing the plane seem to curve, what they claim happens with a football, same would happen with a plane. You're spinning underneath it, according to them. Well, if you don't see it seeming to deviate, you haven't got Coriolis. That's their claim. And if they have, and they say, oh, I do see the plane seeming to curve, as Rumpus did, well then Earth's rotating underneath it, shortening the flight time when travelling west, bringing continents to hovering helicopters and drones. Well, that doesn't happen. We don't have Earth rotating underneath anything to give us a Coriolis observation from the ground. Nothing's ever seeming to curve, because Earth's rotating underneath. Hey, Sleeping Warrior.
Hey.
Did you want to present something, Paul?
Hey, Arwin.
What's up, Riley?
Right, Tony.
Chocolate. Mr. Beacon.
What are you doing?
I'm doing good. I've got a question to ask you about electrolysis later, Meekin. So don't drop after the end of the show.
Let's rattle through housekeeping then while we have the 5 stages of denial on screen. So, any signs of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
No way.
Only diagrams.
Any scientific
Only
evidence
on
of
their
gravity? Oh, go on, let's rattle through them. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
They can't even define it, let alone demonstrate it.
Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
No, none. Danny Faulkner will be the one to ask for that, but he doesn't like talking to us.
John Hawkins from the chat says Cavendish. Not an experiment.
Yeah, and gravity's not a force.
Cavendish. Guys are still holding on to Cavendish. Oh my god.
Cavendish is
We
not
like our Cavendish, sir.
Cavendish is not an experiment, and gravity is not a force. Wake up, Sean. We've been telling you for months and months.
Didn't hear my joke? We like our Cavendish served cold.
Cavendish is the best. No. Let me get it. I'll think about it. I'll work on it. Moving on. What have we got left? Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without a container?
No.
Nope.
Wasn't there a great presentation that didn't answer that last night?
Yeah, check it out. I'm going to mirror it, and hopefully so will Sleeping Warrior Quantum Eraser once it resolves itself in terms of its decent resolution. So at the moment it's available on Sleeping Warrior's channel if you want to check it out now. A response to Danny Faulkner, whose rebuttal to how can you have gas pressure without a container, given a 6-month period, a quick Google search, and citing Hillbilly Blue Balls the Redneck Retard with his 2 containers, his written response on Answers in Genesis was to say that you just need to go outside. And as long as you have a fundamentalist religious belief that the sky is a vacuum, you can observe that we do have gas pressure, and you retain your religious belief in a sky vacuum, therefore it's capable of having gas pressure without a container, in violation of the second law of thermodynamics, because I believe it's a vacuum. So that was his rebuttal. Go outside and express your fundamentalist religious sky vacuum belief.
Yeah. That sounds about right.
Oddly, Rumpus has claimed that Dr. Danny Faulkner was absolutely right on every single one of his points. Really? Rumpus.
Oh,
you're an
really?
idiot.
Well, that's fascinating, because I set down a challenge, because within 3 sentences of explaining that you don't require a container to have gas pressure, he explained that he was a physicist, someone who deals in the physical, natural world. So I've challenged him to actually provide us a physical demonstration of that. Given that he's already cited the redneck retard, the photosynthetic idiot that is Blue Marble Science, and his 2-container demonstration of a gas pressure gradient, I'm not going to assume off the top of my experience so far that you're going to actually demonstrate this in physicality, despite claiming to be a physicist. That concludes the housekeeping. So, what did you want to... What did you want to... Anthony, go ahead.
Quick question, Nathan. If you go outside and look at the sky vacuum, isn't that physical?
What vacuum?
No, we do not observe a sky vacuum, Adam.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have sky vacuum glasses, Adam, that I don't know about? Because I want to go outside and look up and see a vacuum, man. Where'd you get those glasses?
The special ones, yeah.
UK special.
Hang on a sec. I've got something that since Adam's on here and Anthony's on here, I've got something. I've been thinking about this, and it comes up in the discussion a lot. About acceleration and forces. Right now, we've said this before. Like I've got a can of Coke sitting on my counter, and I just moved it. So I applied a force which has to have acceleration to move it, but now it's setting at rest. Now, for a force to be applied, either downward or upward on the can of Coke, there has to be an acceleration. But if it's not moving, there's no acceleration. So how is there a force keeping my can of Coke on the counter?
There isn't. They assume a force and then say it's being counteracted. So net force 0 is what their answer to that would be.
Well, right, and that's that. And I looked that up, and the only way when you have a net force 0 is when they say all the forces are balanced. But my counter is not moving; it's not accelerating. Technically, there's no force applied even on my counter that's in a sense keeping that can of Coke there. You see what I'm saying? You understand what I'm saying? So when they talk about a force of gravity, there has to be some kind of acceleration going on, which, according to Newton's law, which I've got on the screen, acceleration has to be a part of that equation. If the acceleration is 0, there's no force. It can't be. My can of Coke is not accelerating, so there's no force holding that can of Coke on the counter. Right? Tell me if I'm wrong. Just please tell me.
No, your Coke's not accelerating. They can assume that it's being counteracted, and it is accelerating, though. I assure you of that also.
Okay, but for the opposite force, like the counter has to be accelerating up towards the can of Coke, but it's not. It's not.
Not in reality, but what you can do is produce a set of opposing numbers that cancel out the force that you want to be there that's not there anyway. So that the two cancel out to give you the 0 that you've got.
So really, it's
I like how you said not in reality. So like
Right.
on the really is level, it's not moving, it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
But if you don't necessarily have to work on the really is level, everything's going all over the place and there's all types of movement going on. You just don't see it.
Right, so-
It's a consequence of describing that, of wanting to describe weight as a consequence of mass and acceleration. So when you're in this position where there is no acceleration, you've got to then come up with a patch, haven't you? A mathematical fix as to why that's not the case, is my understanding of it. So it's, the concept of, A is 0 kind of ruins it mathematically, which is why they don't have it. I think it's still.
Hold on, can you mute Paul? I can't hear Adam.
So really, so what I'm understanding Adam's saying, it's really a mathematical construct that they're putting into play.
Yeah.
Okay, so really, if the counter is not accelerating up and the can is not accelerating down, there is no force holding the can on the counter. It's just sitting there. There's no force implied.
Well, I have a question, right? So you're saying that acceleration requires a force, right? Well, Riley, who's on the panel right now, caused an egg to move up simply by changing the density of the medium that the egg was sitting in. So when he did that just simply by adding salt. So was the adding salt adding a force? Was the change of the medium creating a force to move that egg up? Because the egg moved up. So that's acceleration, right?
Yeah.
Movement.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Armin.
Oh yeah, it's
Go ahead, Owen.
the salt introduction and the dissolving into the water causes an effective disequilibrium between the egg and the water that has changed its density, and this
Yes, sir.
disequilibrium provides the force that causes the motion and the displacement.
And that simply is force causing the egg to move up.
It's got a great title too.
That force from my...
Hold on, Adam. The relative density disequilibrium force, you mean?
Yeah. Exactly.
that would be a consequence of realignment at intermolecular level. So that's where the force is generated from, in between the molecules themselves that express that movement. So the way in which that object is moved is at the macroscopic level. So it's the realignment at that level that generates the force. So if you think of it as water, like just the way in which the molecules have to align because of their physical and electrical chemistry, that they can't all touch, the way in which they have to realign. They're more dense, so they're able to support more weight, and it's that realignment that then pushes the egg up. In my understanding, that's where the force is generated from. Because you can't get something from nothing; it has to come from somewhere, and it's that molecular alignment that's generating that force.
And see, that's something I've been thinking about. Hang on a
If
second.
I may add on to something.
Well, before you do, I don't get to talk very much. I've got a quiet moment, so you can talk a lot. You got no kids in the background. I've actually been thinking about what you just said, Adam. What causes the things to move, and it's actually the way the molecules are interacting more than anything else. It's causing disequilibrium, causing things to move or fall. Because chemistry, which that's what you are, you see that all those things happening in chemistry, right? Certain, the bonds break up because of heat, or they move apart, but they come back together because of their molecular bonds, or they rearrange according to the structure. I mean, I've actually thought more along those lines. It's what's causing most of what we see than any other mystical force that Einstein or Newton can come up with.
Yeah, I this more in terms of, if you think of it like packaging material, it can take shoving it in a box. If you put more cotton wool, which is your solute, into your water, which is your box, it can take more weight on top of it. Does that make sense? You're putting more, you're making the water more dense, so it can. And in doing so, at that point, it's like you're sliding more packaging underneath. Now, the only consequence of that is that it will raise it. The force of you sliding in, your hand force, is actually generated between the molecules themselves as they align. Is my comprehension of how that force is generated.
Well, if I may, the whole disequilibrium force between the densities causing the displacements, there's another chain to the link of that effect, and that is if there is no maneuverability left for the material to displace towards its equilibrium point, then it will redirect that force into pressure. And that is also what is perceived as weight, effectively. The pressure from the disequilibrium of it trying to reach its equilibrium point, but not having the maneuverability to do it. And then it becomes pressure instead of motion.
I like
And that's
to
also what's pushing, making the water in an aquarium push.
Now, all I would say with that, Owen, is that still, though, whilst it explains for me causality of density, it still doesn't postulate orientation. It doesn't give a, and I think that's where you start to look into the.
Cause for the orientation.
Yeah, exactly. Let me finish. That's where you have to look at things that have got nothing to do with it, that maybe possibly cause it. So not a direct function of up and down, something to do with way in which electromagnetism works for me, because that would make sense, because we do seem to have repetition in which density and buoyancy play out. So there would appear to be a non-relevant causality for that direction. I don't think I can say much more about it, but I do think there has to be a secondary to all of this, other fundamental things that play a role in orientation.
Yeah, entropy.
Entropy is again, yeah, but I'm talking more why, for want of.
It's gravity.
Hold on.
Yeah,
it's gravity.
Not to apply an overreaching force. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about why the molecules want to move that way. Now, from a gravity point of view, you would say, yeah, it's this overreaching force that's pushing that stuff that way. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that, is there something that's nothing to do with it, but could be causality as to why the molecules want to orientate that way? And they do want to do that, but I don't think I can. It's got nothing to do with an overreaching force for me. There's not an additional force applied. I'm saying there may be a mechanism that allows those intermolecular forces to always kind of orientate like that, or have that causality.
Were you part of the discussion?
I totally agree with you, but there's only one way to achieve that, and that is in order to vary and manipulate this alignment.
I'm getting there. Arwin, hold on. Adam, were you part of the discussion between Quantum Eraser, Dr. John D, and I can't remember if you... Wasn't the conclusion that it's a second order effect of entropy?
Yes, but again, that's an effect, not a cause, and that's what I'm saying.
I'm getting. I know. I'm getting there. Right. So because of that, based on that conclusion, you're trying to figure out the mechanism that's a second order effect of a natural law in terms of how it occurs. It is what it is. It does order itself that way, and trying to figure out the mechanism, as you put it, is for me folly. It's pointless.
I think certainly where we are at the moment, it's a grail. I wouldn't necessarily. I think the hope of all science is that you do look at these things and hope so. But for me, my conclusion was. But I'm quite happy to leave it as a natural law, because I think until you can come up with some postulations as to all the other mechanisms in play, like. Magnets and everything's magnetic. That's why I was gutted with lockdown, because Zach's stuff that he was doing in terms of magnetics isn't going to disprove gravity. Well, it'll disprove an overreaching force, but if it could show that you can in some way impede this falling motion with that's quite significant to suggest there are other mechanisms at play, which I say most fundamentally destroys gravity, because if you can put one little factor in there that alters the numbers, we know how rigid their numbers are, it destroys it. Does that mean you'll ever get to the causality? No, but does that mean that geeks don't want to experiment and explore?
Right.
I completely agree. I'd love it to be the theory of entropy. That would be fantastic if somebody established the cause. That would be great. And I'm not in any way saying that people shouldn't try and strive forward to try and explain things. I'm not decrying that, but I'm just saying, for me, do I think I'll figure out the cause of entropy? I don't think so. I mean, I might.
If I may add on to the conversation here, concerning the apparent force disequilibrium field that you could conceive to be gravity, but it's basically a concept in order to explain the alignment of the density force direction, the density disequilibrium force. Well, there is a possibility to get a reading on this, but you'd have to be able to get some kind of grip on a model. Hear me out on this, a model for it. And in order to find that, it has to become something more than just this apparent universal field that is the same everywhere. You have to find out if there is some kind of spatial element that alters it in some way. So is there, for example, less displacement motion going on very high up near the end of the container or whatever? Is something like that going on? If there was, for real, not just NASA telling us, then we could start to see that there is more to it than that it is this apparent universal thing. And then you can get closer to actually trying to figure out how you could influence what is making it established the way it is.
Okay, I'll agree with that.
Can I add a bit of onto that?
Thank you for letting me finish that.
Yeah, go ahead, Adam.
You're right on. That's what Good Times is looking at, and he's not just dropping magnets. It is a repetition of tests that went off with supposed results, and it is if orientation, then change in falling rate. So we really want to see if these things can be affected. And like I said, if you can show a slight effect in it, it does destroy what they're saying as the fundamental reason of an overreaching force. If you can just negate a little bit of it, it destroys their numbers. So I don't think in my lifetime, if I'll see an answer to it, but I do.
But Adam, that's very difficult though, because you could potentially create like refined electrostatic effects that would effectively negate the weight or the density of an object for all kinds of mechanisms. But that would not literally alter the perceived workings of gravity itself, because the entire field is not manipulated. It's literally an other effect that has similar influences that you're introducing and then just calling that gravity, but it's not actually manipulating the universal perceived field. See?
So that's what we're talking about. Is this field, is it a field effect?
Exactly.
Are you able to manipulate part of that and affect some variance in results? And if you do show that, then you show that you don't demonstrate what it is, but again, you demonstrate that it's not this thing that is so well defined.
Right.
Can I give a real
Hold on
world
a second.
example, please?
Oh,
Yeah, go on,
No.
10th, man. You've been waiting for a while. Go ahead, 10th.
Yeah, I like Adam's packaging box example, because this whole conversation started off with a glass of water. Then salt was added, and then the egg had two different dispositions, one with no salt in the water and one with more salt in the water. When I went to the Dead Sea in Israel, I don't care if you were skinny or the fattest person on that tour group, that you could not sink because it is so full of salt. You were like a cork in the water, much like the egg just floating up. I mean, someone would have to push you down to make you drown. That's how buoyancy there was. I also went into the Pacific Ocean all my life here, and you can drown. It's very difficult to float in the swimming pool or the Pacific Ocean unless you know how to do it. And you got to have calm seas, of course. But there is no force. It was just more salt.
more density.
That was the whole point of me bringing that up, because the constant talk about how you need some type of a force to cause acceleration, where I look at this cup with an egg simply floating in some salt water, and you add a little bit more salt, it goes up. you were to take a little bit of the salt out, it'd move down. And it's just that simple to me. Like it doesn't necessitate all this other force and mass attracting mass and all this other nonsense. Like it's really kind of just so simple.
Well, I don't think Newton claimed mass was really attracted by mass.
Yeah, I know that.
That was after him.
Yeah, it's Reverend John Michel, Cavendish, CV Boys.
Poor guy wanted nothing to do with it. Let's slap his name all over it. No worries.
Well, it does sound like a good brand for a dishwasher machine, the Cavendish dishwasher.
Right. Okay, I'm going to play a clip. So, Quantum Eraser's been good enough to cut out.
Hang on, Nathan. Hang on.
Okay.
That would explain rinse and repeat argument.
Boom, boom.
I was waiting for it.
Right, let's get this clip going.
No name, more like no integrity whatsoever. White knighting for Sean the Crackhead Hawkins with his water vapor is not a gas. Jose JG Retard Show, 25 May 2020.
Can I get no name to read that definition again?
And that was a while ago, huh?
Well, I'd like to clarify if he could read it again.
Can you not read? Are you illiterate? I mean, it's right there in the internal chat and in the live stream chat.
If you could just read it out for the audience, that would be great.
Let's read it. Yeah, you gotta get good reading voice. No name.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you. When water is heated, it undergoes a phase change and water vapor forms. Gas is a state of matter while water vapor is not. A gas is a substance above its critical temperature but below its critical pressure, while a vapor is a substance above its boiling point temperature.
Keep going. You have to keep reading.
Water vapors.
That's it.
You have to keep reading because I'm reading the same definition I think that you're reading because you read it word for word and I'm reading along. And then, okay, I will. Farmer's Boy, you ready?
Go for it.
Here's what the full definition ends with. Hang on, let me get to it. He just read the same thing. Gas is a state of matter while vapor is not. A gas is a substance above its critical temperature but is below its critical pressure, while a vapor is a substance above its boiling point temperature. Y'all would agree that was word for word? And then the end says, a vapor is a gas with vapor and gas highlighted. He forgot to read that.
Ding, 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 ding,
Wow.
ding.
Boom, Jose. That's what you should have said, right? This is a real boom this time. Yeah, didn't hear anything from you just yet. Shocking surprise. This is typical spinning ball-tard space monkey behavior, folks. Get used to it. Let's see if there's any more meat on the bone that we can gnaw into.
Wow.
Cherry pick to its best by no name.
It's only you lot that are allowed to do that.
Trying to rub it in too.
Yeah, well, he just called me an idiot and said I couldn't read, right? Yeah, I'm gonna rub it in.
Wait,
Go ahead.
It's not cherry picking. That's
no, not you, Rocky.
It doesn't
matter. Brian, hold on.
No, I'm just pointing out.
Brian.
Yeah, it's not cherry picking to miss out part of something. Okay, but it's still a wrong thing to do.
You think it's not cherry picking to leave out a vapor is a gas when that's the
I need to say something.
It's not cherry picking. It's more like quote mining to pick out part of something. Let's get our fallacies in order. Yeah.
So we have Mr. Helper, the pinnacle of intellectual integrity, Miles the Liar Davis, letting everyone know that what just happened was quote mining, not cherry picking. Thanks for that. Did you know, Mr. Helper, from your alma mater wiki, in argumentation, the practice of quote mining is a form of cherry picking in which the debater selectively picks some quotes supporting a position or exaggerating an opposing position while ignoring those that moderate the original quote or put it into a different context. So calling it cherry picking is a-okay. You see, baltards don't know what logical fallacies are, and they most certainly don't know what cherry picking is. In conclusion, all you have to do is let these ball-tarred spinning space monkeys open up their incoherent pie holes. That's all you need do, folks. They'll do your work for you. Thanks again!
So we all clear now? Retards in the chat? Water vapor's gas? It was all so funny when you were laughing at me because you were thick as all shit and thought it wasn't. So, one of your kin went out and found a little quote and missed off the end where it points out that it is gas, hey? You thought you could just cherry pick that shit? Wow, what a bunch of idiots. Hope you're all clear now. It's a gas. Enjoy the aftertaste, fundies.
Yeah, you can't quote mine your way out of the actual core argument, Sean.
That was good, man. I was laughing on mute. That was good.
Has it really taken, what, a week of them figuring out that water vapor's gas? Are we really dealing with people at this level of stupidity? I mean, they were all having a good laugh about how stupid we were for calling water gas. Oh, yeah. What, not so funny anymore now it's demonstrated quite clearly how stupid you are? Yeah, you're all thick. I hope you appreciate how thick you are. Yeah? You want to laugh at us for being stupid while you're demonstrating to an audience, a live audience, just how stupid you are? Yeah, good on you, fundies. As Quantum Eraser correctly identifies, all you fundies have got to do is open your mouths to demonstrate how stupid you are, and we can qualify it with examples.
At best, that audio proved that there's laughing gas.
Nitrous oxide?
Yep, I was busting up. That was great.
Right, but I'm pretty sure
I
there's
just
still
find it kind of funny,
down,
'cause
though.
even if you were confused as a fundy, I mean, a little cursory search, 2 seconds, and the first thing that pops up is when you look up water vapors, it's gas. I just put it in Ballbusters, the first thing that popped up. NASA, right? What does it say? Water vapor is also the most important greenhouse gas in the atmosphere.
No, chocolate. It's gaseous. It's not a gas.
Oh, that would be my mistake, being that I just read it's a important greenhouse gas.
So let's just clarify what's happening here. Sean Hawkins, you didn't think water vapor was a gas. Now, here on Flat Earth Debate, we discuss things like light and the second law of thermodynamics, whether or not we ponder the cause and mechanism of these laws of nature. That's what we ponder and contemplate here on the Nathan Oakley 1980 channel. Meanwhile, over on other platforms, they're spending 3 days figuring out whether or not water vapor is a gas. So, we're talking about the nature of reality. They're talking about whether or not water's a gas. That's the distinction between this show and other shows.
Well, they also spend days talking about whether or not their heliocentric nonsensical model is an open or closed system. Still trying to figure that out. Didn't they also have discussions about whether rockets are actually made of matter or not?
Yes. Here we discuss the nature of reality. Deep philosophical questions about the nature of reality that we cover on this show. Meanwhile, on other shows, they're trying to figure out if a rocket is matter or not. That's correct, Chocolate.
Yeah.
And how a rocket can leave the atmosphere, but gas does not.
Yeah, that's way above their pay grade, Arwin. And with that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who tuned in live on the Nathan Oakley 1980 channel. Other shows are available, but the original is definitely the best. If you are watching this on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, however, stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. A massive, huge, enormous thank you to both Discord and G+ panels for making today's live show possible. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
on doubling down that we're supposedly wrong, even though we've proven that they were quote mining their source to prove their point, which is just completely wrong because of it. I think they'll keep on doubling down. That's my prediction.
I literally just read something from NASA. Their gods, the ones they turn to for their pretty pictures of the spinning magical water ball in a vacuum, and they themselves say water vapor is the most important greenhouse gas. Right? That comes from them, but they'll still laugh at us.
Oh, Chocolate,
that's the
but
greatest
come on,
part.
even
It's
NASA can
Chocolate.
make mistakes.
It could say it in their own citation and they still won't accept it.
Yeah, exactly. Like,
No,
this is joke level, man.
It's a far cry to expect this group of ballers that you guys have been going back and forth with, and I for not as long as you guys, but to change. They're not going to change. That's why we call them globetards. And so they're going to keep in their Narnia world making up stuff and trip over gas. Of all things, trip over gas. So everyone would agree on this because it's like, and then all of a sudden, we're not an
Hello,
open system.
Do you
we're a
remember
closed
the other
system now.
episode? Do you remember the other day when this was first brought up? And right afterwards, 3 ballers showed up in here, and I asked all 3 of them, "Is when water evaporates, what does it turn into?" All of them said gas. One of them even said, "Oh, do I have to say this? Like, do I have to respond to this?" Yes, because I want to hear the response, because we have Globers laughing at us, telling us, "Oh my God, you guys think water vapor is gas?"
No.
Meanwhile, you got 3 guys in here that are on your side that say the exact same thing. Thank you very much.
Nah, you got it all wrong, man. Sean Hawkins has another approach. He says that the only way you can turn water into a gas is using electrolysis, because when water evaporates, it becomes gaseous, which is not a gas. It's actually just really tiny water droplet floating in between the gas. That's what Sean Hawkins thinks.
That's a gas. What the heck?
Now, he says it's just gaseous. It's not really a gas. It's still liquid water droplets floating around.
It's pressurized. It's not pressure. It's just pressurized.
These guys,
Hang on, I'll read.
These
Go
guys
ahead.
only. Go ahead, Paul.
No, go ahead, 10th man. I'm just going to read the definition. I'll get it up on screen so we can share it with.
All right. Yeah. No, these guys only serve. I personally have a lot of hope for people and have good thoughts towards people. Just it's my disposition to be that way. But I don't have hope for these people. I'll tell you why. Because they only serve as a backdrop to prove the nonsense of their position. They will not admit that red is red and blue is blue. And when they don't do that, how can you hold out any hope for people like that?
AQE.
Well, they're not here for an actual intellectual debate about actually exchanging ideas. They're here to prove us flurfers wrong. That's their only goal.
Well, that's fine. That's fine, Chocolate. But at least the terminology has to be like semantics. Words mean things. Red is red, blue is blue, right? And they are changing it in order to embarrass us. But they embarrass themselves when they change the meaning of things, like vapor is not gas. I mean, they're
Hold
so
on.
desperate to be right.
Well, we've got an example now on screen from Paul with gaseous. Go ahead, Paul.
Gaseous, relating to or having the characteristics of a gas, as Lily laughs in the background.
Relating to or having the characteristics of a gas. That's what gaseous means. It's like pressurized. Having pressure. No, it's not pressing. It's just pressurized. My God. What an embarrassment. Thank you for that clip. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, shout out to Rakia for getting them. I believe that was Rakia for getting them to read out the whole definition, or reading it out himself. Like, hey, yeah, you missed the best part. You might have skipped the best part that says it's a gas. Yeah.
That was Rekia. I was on there. That was a good clip. Did you get? It may have been a different show. Huey play the clip of Sean Hawkins and finally admitting that water vapor is a gas?
I don't have that. I'm sorry.
Okay,
No,
that may have been even better.
What does it matter now?
Give them a day or two, and they'll say that Rakia was quote mining.
I mean,
Yeah, it doesn't matter now. And Sean and all the other one, I could care less about. Excuse me, I could care less about the other retards. My favorite is Professor Phil Bell when they said that he said that water vapor is a gas is the stupidest thing he's ever heard. That's the coup de grace.
Jeez. What? Wait. Isn't he a professor in water or something? Doesn't he study that?
He's a professor in water? That's a good one.
Wait, isn't that his study? Isn't
I've
that
heard
what
of
he
these.
studies?
I have no idea.
They're called
Oh my god. Let me go for it.
Professor in water with a hand wave dismissal.
Called a soluble.
You know, I don't just make stuff up like that. I got that from somewhere. Give me a bit.
Who made this watch meme? Tree Swinger. Who's Tree Swinger? Have you seen this in Skype?
Oh, that's what's his name?
Just stick it up.
Domesticated primate.
Is that who it is?
Yeah. He's the one who's been making all the cool memes with the Black Swan and the Horizons and all that. Good meme maker.
There's Brenda. Can you tell me exactly how much time is in this watch? It's got Christopher Walken from Pulp Fiction holding up the gold watch. With my face on it. Very good.
He put it the only place he could put it. In his ass.
In his ass.
Well, he had you as James Bond in Skyfall the other day.
Is that me? Let's have a look at that. Oh my god.
I told you to go look at it.
What's it say? 14.7 psi adjacent to 10 to the minus 17 torr vacuum. No physical containment. Skyfall 007. That's great.
Do you see the next one?
Loads of them.
He who controls the radius controls the geometry.
That's great. Very good. Yeah, thank you very much for sending me those clips. It is spot on when you say that all you've got to do is let them talk and they'll humiliate themselves. Because there wasn't very much other than you saying, really? Is that really what things like that? You were just giving them enough rope to hang themselves, and precisely what they did was hang themselves.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah. By doing those clips, all you've done is played what they've said. You gave very little commentary on it. You gave the odd definition, that's it. And all they did was flap and go and try and affirm their position by cherry picking.
You know, that same guy, I'm unfamiliar with him. Dave Rockia told me about him. I think he's No Name. About 2 minutes after that, he said, well, water vapor is still not a gas. And then he went on to another subject. I mean, we're at a level here. I don't think cognitive dissonance covers it. I don't even think fanatical religious zealotry covers it. I think it's much deeper. The stupidity, that is.
Yeah, it seems that flat earthers annoy the stupid people the most. I don't understand why that is, but there we go.
Yeah, it seems because these are just basic.
Willful
I
ignorance.
can't. I'm speechless over this. This is just a microcosm of the level of, I don't even know if you can call it intelligence. It's just awareness about yourself, right? I can't. I don't know what to say, man. This is a joke, carnival tent.
I think what you're saying, at least the way I'm interpreting it, is we're dealing with the Looney Tunes of this group, and it's like, is it worth it to even expect anything coherent coming out of these people because they're just loony?
No, you're
You're
right.
not supposed to debate that. If you were in a debate with them, if you were on that show, one of the first two clips that you played over the last couple of days, and you say, yeah, well, you've got the water cycle, you're in an argument about gravity for the sake of argument, and you say, okay, you've got water evaporating, it turns into a gas and it goes up. And their rebuttal to that is, water vapor's not a gas. And you go, yeah, of course it's a gas. Here's a citation from NASA saying it's a gas. Do you not accept that water vapor is gas? That is ludicrous. No, you're a moron. Ha 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 ha! How are you supposed to debate with that?
Sorry, Nathan. Can you guys look in Ballbusters real quick?
Yep. About the fellow.
Yeah, that's the fellow who is apparently studies water. A professional in water or something.
I'm presenting it, by the way.
I'm presenting it to the audience. Sorry, Arwin. I don't go to the effort of screen sharing it.
So this is the guy that says that water vapor being a gas is the dumbest thing he's ever heard. Meanwhile, he's trainer in water operations and producer of water science, whatever the fuck that is. So yeah, not sure what he's talking about, Mr. Professor in water.
Well, he's got the same thing that Dr. Danny Faulkner suffers from. They say, like, here, I'll just give you a contrast. Answers in Genesis. Oh, to the average Christian, he's going to think that this guy's going to pull everything about Genesis to answer things. And Dr. Danny Faulkner doesn't realize anything about Genesis and about the water being separated from the waters, and that a firmament was there. He totally bypasses that, goes to scientism, heliocentrism, and merges the heliocentrism into Genesis. It doesn't belong in Genesis. And this guy with the water degrees, a droplet away from Bellevue, same thing.
Bellevue, a droplet away.
It's nonsense.
That's why when you said that, what he said about the water, I was like, wait a minute. I distinctly remember I was talking about this, and this guy, I remember hearing that this guy studied water, apparently, according to whatever this is. So, water vapor not being a gas is the dumbest thing you've ever heard. Wow.
I would
Maybe
have
you
more
should write that on
respect.
your whiteboard, Professor Phil Bell, and maybe bang on that a little bit.
I would have more respect
Clown.
for Dr. Danny Faulkner if he said, this is what heliocentrism teaches, and this is what I believe, instead of saying it represents answers in Genesis.
Well, that would imply he realised he's teaching a religious belief when he teaches heliocentrism. He doesn't appreciate that. He thinks it's reality. He's teaching his reification fallacy as though it's real, because he doesn't realise it isn't. That's stupidity. That was the conclusion also that we came to on the show. So even Nathan Thompson was like, this is an intelligent guy. He's a smart guy. No, he's not. We're not talking about Phil Bell anymore. I'm trying to take him off screen when we're talking about someone else. So now we're talking about Dr. Danny Faulkner, who we covered yesterday. And we're talking about Phil Bell, who's the guy who's apparently affiliated with water science, but doesn't realise that water vapor's gas. My God.
Hey, is Adam in here?
He is.
I am back, guys. Sorry, I missed most of the last half hour.
So what's your take on the professor of water science, or professor in water? What's your take on his statement that water vapor is a gas as the dumbest thing he's ever heard as a professor of physics? What's your take on that?
It comes back to what I'm saying, that these are either incompetent or they're deceiving, and can't be that incompetent, can you?
They can. They are.
It's farcical, isn't it?
Yep. Good word.
They can. They are. They must.
I don't know. I mean, listening to that little, you stuck a clip. That's literally when I cut off as you started to play that clip that you put in, Master B, John. And that shows it all. Not reading the last bit, just taking that first bit. So you cool. Well, it's kind of alluding that vapor's slightly, it leaves it open. It's not definitive, but obviously, if you do finish the paragraph, it is.
He pulled the same routine that Rumpus did. So, do you remember Rumpus with Joyland Bloomfield? He even had the whole thing on screen. He didn't read it. Everyone was looking at it. He just stopped that. However, it's not a force. So this guy did the same thing. The only two times that stand out to me when they provide citation, this was just verbally, he didn't put it up on screen. They cherry pick, and then they charge us with cherry picking. They don't even know. Obviously, they don't even know what cherry picking. Miles the Liar Davis doesn't know what it is. If he doesn't know what it is, no one else knows. I already knew that. I've been telling these guys they don't know what it is. You'd figure that they would go look it up at some point, right? Just go look it up and figure out what it actually is. Nope.
You know what they think it is, though? Do you know what they think cherry picking is? If you provide a coherent, concise argument with citation, then the citation that backs your argument isn't your actual argument, it just backs it. That's cherry picked. That's what they think cherry picking is.
You got it right. Yep. You're exactly right. Yes, they do.
Nathan, can I bring up something on the Coriolis side of it? We were talking about that earlier.
Yeah, sure.
So in chat, I was asking Rumpus if Coriolis was an actual real force or pseudo force, and he says pseudo force. At the same time, Rumpus also says that you don't have to have two reference frames for Coriolis effect. If you look up if you Google how to calculate the pseudo force, it says, this guy says, computing a pseudo force means that you have at least two reference frames, one inertial and one non-inertial. So even in the calculation and formula for a pseudo force, which Coriolis effect is, to do that calculation, you have to have two reference frames. So Rumpus is wrong.
Yeah, often.
you need again.
Yeah, our first introduction to this dude was him telling us that he's never wrong. And he's always wrong.
This is the same guy that came here and yelled out at the top of his lungs, pseudo means real. So, yeah, that's what we're talking about. Air is not the atmosphere. Pseudo means real. Second law of thermodynamics doesn't apply to the Earth. This is the guy we're talking to. We do have a geometric horizon. We don't. Wow.
And don't forget the classics. Air is not the atmosphere, and the second law doesn't apply to the Earth.
Yeah, I went through them all. Real quick.
He didn't forget those.
I said them.
It's all ironic because when I asked him that, I didn't know you could even calculate a pseudo force. He said, yeah, you can. He didn't tell me how. So when he said you could, I was like, really, that's interesting. So that's when I Googled, how would you calculate a pseudo force? And I came across that definition of needing at least two reference frames. So ironic, he told me you could. And even though he knows you can, he doesn't know what the formula is. If he did, he would know you would need the two reference frames for the formula.
So let me get this straight, Chris. You had a good understanding of what Coriolis was in an argument with a globetard. You explained it to the globetard. They said you were wrong. So you went and found a citation that backed your understanding completely in terms of what the Coriolis effect is and what it would require. You know what that is? I think you'll find that's cherry picking.
Their definition, probably.
Yeah, going out and finding a citation that backs your argument. Yeah, that's definitely cherry picking, because that would demolish their argument. So, you know, assert that it's a logical fallacy. That's a really good defence, apparently.
The state of affairs we've come to, now backing up your claim is considered a logical fallacy to them.
Yeah, chocolate, exactly.
That means every scientific paper with a works cited page or bibliography has to be thrown out. This is the level that we're at, folks. It's
We're
a carnival
missing-
tent.
Well, why are they doing science anyway? Science doesn't prove anything, according to them. Right? So why are they even doing it anyway? What are they wasting their time for? What is water science guy doing? Science doesn't prove anything. And apparently you can't figure out that when water evaporates, it's damn gas. What the fuck? Oh, man.
I missed the part where I was going to get it. I felt it rather redundant with Sean, the crackhead Hawkins, thinks that water becoming a gas has to break the hydroxyl bonds. That's the intramolecular bonds, not the intermolecular hydrogen bonds, but the intermolecular hydroxyl bonds. That's fucking scary, man. Scary.
Hey, chocolate.
Yeah, what was that? Was that water when it evaporates turns into hydrogen, oxygen, gas?
Yes, that's what he thought.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay.
Hold on, did you just say that's right, Arwin? Or that's right, that's what he thought?
Yeah, that's right. That's what he thought.
Yeah, fine.
Bloody hell.
I missed that. Did you say wow?
I said bloody hell.
Yeah, you said bloody hell. My version of wow.
Hey, chocolate, you left one out of Rumpus's most current statements about the geometric horizon. It's not a visual one, but it's visible.
Yeah.
Oh God, really? You said that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I
that
got a
was a
mic
little
check?
more recent. I forgot about that one.
Go on, Neil.
Can I get a mic check?
Yes, check, 1, 2. Mine's working
Okay,
fine.
Yeah, what up, bro?
Hold on, let's just check again. 1, 2, 1, 2. Yeah, mine's all
Yeah,
good.
yours is good.
Thanks.
Can I get a couple definitions from you guys?
Have I just claimed something? Do I need to define something? What have I been claiming? Have I
No,
been
it's
sleep
more the
claiming
QE.
again?
I'd like to know the definition of wow and vacation.
Yeah.
Got him.
Sorry, we are currently in a lockdown situation, so vacation is going to be very loosely defined currently, I would say.
See, brother has my back.
I do.
He can't get enough of this, man. No.
John thought he'd do a bit of YouTubing on his holidays.
That Rakia?
Yes, Rocky alive.
Did you see the clip or the show today where they played you finishing No Name's citation?
I caught bits and pieces, but I remember it distinctly when he left out the last 3 words of his definition. He read word for word, and everybody backed him up. And even when I read the same definition and said vapor is a gas, they still didn't,
Still denied it, yeah.
Yeah, they still denied it. They thought that was like
I was on that show with you, and honestly, I was like doing something in the background, so I wasn't paying too close attention. But how did you come across that? Did No Name post a citation and you clicked it, or did you Google what he said and came across the same citation.
I just Googled is vapor a gas, and it was the same definition he was reading word for word, except he left the last part off. Vapor is a gas.
It's even better.
I was sitting on the helm of my boat, just relaxing, looking at the marina and listening to him spout off that bullcrap. And I just decided to Google it because I know he's being disingenuous. That's just I told QE this. This guy's got it bad, right? He has to be right all the time. Yeah.
It's even better because he didn't know you were going to find the exact same citation as him, so he probably wasn't. He was caught off guard.
Did you hear Jose trying to? It only been like a minute. We were on the second point, another point, but I interrupted and said, "Wait a minute! Until we go too far, let's go back to his definition." And even Jose didn't want to go back because he knew. I know Jose knew, right? They all know. And when I made him go back and read that definition again, even Jose said, "Well, no name, go ahead and read it. You got a great voice," And then they all started chirping up because they knew the end was coming, right? They all knew the end of the definition and that he didn't read the full thing. And when I started saying read the end, they all chirped up. Farmer's Boy and Stingray and all them were like trying to interrupt. And I said, well, okay, I'll read it. There's something, man.
They ad hommed you too. They told you were dumb.
Yeah, I couldn't read and I was an idiot. Yeah, they got to poison the well before they do anything. Yeah, just to make sure.
It literally took me 2 seconds. The first thing that popped up is that citation. And the last line is, a vapor is a gas.
In bold print.
Who is it that was just asking Rakia about? Chris. Yeah, if you're ever in doubt about where they'll find their citation, it's always the same. It's the top result on the search. So if you can roughly figure out what they've searched for, the top result will be the one that they pick.
Yeah. I think they sit there on their computer and every subject they just pull up, the information and spout it off like they know it. I mean, there's no way that no-name fella, I mean, he seems pretty bright, but there's no way he can remember every definition. You know what I'm saying? It's not humanly possible.
Well, I don't know about that. I don't look up anything. I'm lazy as all hell. But there we go. Gem Panda admitted it to me. Before I started Flat Earth Debate, I discussed it with Gem Panda. And in that discussion, he explained that he sat off camera Google searching all the time. And then he pipes up with his definition, and nobody knows that he's just gone away and Google searched it because no one can see him.
Right.
So they blatantly admit that they're just behind, no camera, tapping away and searching up whatever they need to rebut it with. Now, I'm not saying that's anything bad, but once you found the thing that you found, if you don't know it and you've had to search it, you should really study it carefully, like very carefully, not just cherry pick the bit you need and ignore the rest, because that's going to get you in trouble.
Yeah. The other thing I've
especially with
noticed is
people
some of
when you
these
present
guys
it to
are,
people who like to read shit, right? Like I like to read the things that people provide me. So when you provide me something about the Coriolis effect, then it clearly at the top says we're talking about an illusion. And then later on in the article, you want to tell me about how this illusion can somehow cause an actual storm that we call a hurricane. Well, that's a bit of a problem. That's why I hold on to citations like that.
the other thing I'm seeing that's really telling is sometimes they'll show their face or where they're sitting or whatever, and they have these $500 microphones with these hinged, holders, and they're sitting in a professional chair. These guys this is what they, what I'm saying? They're there for a reason. They say they have other jobs, but man, they are spending 10, 12, 14 hours a day, doing this. It's craziness. They're not at their job.
They're invested.
That's a very interesting point, and you're right. It's something I hadn't considered. So over the course of 11 years of being on YouTube, incrementally, I've bought all of the equipment. So if I was to put my camera, I'm not going to, but if I was to, I'd be surrounded by all of that stuff, especially over the next month. It's going to get worse and worse as I put more and more sound deadening equipment in here. But the point is that that's taken me a very long time to do, and it's obviously incrementally happened as my YouTube channel's grown. Some of these people have got no subscribers, no channel, but yeah, they're sat around with great mic and all the equipment they'll ever need, and they've got 14 hours a day to do it without it generating any revenue. Like, how is that even possible? How have you got the time to do this without it generating any revenue?
I don't know. I caught that the other day. A couple, I forget who it was. It was a couple young guys. Bullet Bill is one of them too. He's kind of new on the scene, and has a pretty good setup. Not scared to show his face, which is good. I like that. But there was a couple other on the other day, and they showed their setup, and it was just amazing. I mean, it was like you were in a sound studio, and they had no channel. They're on a sock account, I guess. I don't get it.
Nuts.
Just random guys on YouTube with all this, fancy equipment. Knowing every subject you spat out. I mean, every time you bring up anything about light or anything, right? They know every detail. That's not
No,
humanly
they
possible.
say they know. No. They
Actually, I was hoping
couch
somebody
themselves
clear
as
up
knowing
Snell's
it.
law.
Hold on a second. Hold on. No. They pretend they know everything, but they know absolutely nothing. Or they know the headline parroted, like Nathan said, their first result, or Wiki. See, if Wiki, I've always said this, if Wiki would suddenly go belly up, there'd be no Baltards. None. That's all they got.
Radio check.
Hey, Babs.
Hey, yeah, they're government agents. Ain't it obvious by now?
Yeah, you've been talking about J-Tricks for a while, as has Infinite Plane Society. He's brought up and demonstrated what J-Tricks do and what they are. Feel free to... Don't postulate that they are. You don't know that. But feel free to tell us what J-Tricks are. That's fine.
I don't know that for sure, but they definitely fit the J-Trig MO.
What's the J-Trig MO? Let the audience make their own conclusions. If they know what a J-Trig is, they can make their own conclusions about how and what people are. You know what I mean? Or maybe not. We could just speculate that they are J-Trigs and leave it at that.
Yeah. Thanks for that. Or just give us another radio check.
Radio check.
Okay, wait, hang on. I gotta say this, though. The scope of the J-Trig mission includes using dirty tricks to destroy, deny, degrade, disrupt enemies by discrediting them, planting misinformation, and shutting down communications. Isn't that what the ballers are doing?
Yeah.
Seemed like they were doing it yesterday.
Yeah, but they have a budget of $500 million a day that you don't.
All of it except for the communications bit. I questioned it last time and you did qualify it. I just can't remember your answer. But yeah, I agree with all of it except for the shutting down of communications. How's that? Maybe I'm not seeing... maybe my scope of what that means is too limited.
Disrupting communication.
What that means is...
rumpusing.
What that means is censorship.
Got rumpusing and censorship. I suppose rumpusing is censorship. Stops my information coming through.
Kind of like your version of the globe head mute button.
Yes.
Just a bigger version of that.
Yeah.
Right. So shutting down communication is the fundamentalist globe head mute button by equivalent.
Yeah, I actually ran into that yesterday on Discord because I was talking to, I don't know who he was, but he was in there trying to show a video showing the debunked, the black swan and all this stuff. And then I started going in and talking about the refraction aspect of it, and all of a sudden out of nowhere came Zanuck trying to disrupt what was going on. It was so funny. And I shut him down.
He's one of those, man. Sometimes I gotta be like, what are you doing in this? Right? Yep. Like, I give people the benefit of the doubt. Zanuck is, I've had too many encounters with Zanuck, whether it's here or 24/7 or wherever, where I feel like, what is the game that you're playing here? Because I don't feel like you're just some regular Joe that just comes off the street and wants to argue about this. You have an angle. I don't know what that is, but there's something wrong with you and how you act, and you're a lot smarter than you put on. I know people would just say he's just dumb, but he knows the bullshit that he is saying. In that respect, he is smart. He knows when there are certain things that he can say or he can't say, and he tries to work that shit around with us. Like, kind of like training and practicing for it. And I'm sure it does work on some people out there. I'm sure it might, because he's slick with it. But that nonsense doesn't work here anymore. But yeah, he's one of those. There's something wrong with that guy. I don't know.
It works on people
And
just coming
and if
into
he's
it.
in Discord right now, he
knowing
can
too
come out
much.
and tell me off. But I don't know if he's there or not. I'm not looking at Discord.
Go on, Neil.
Whatever.
What were you saying?
I'm saying it works on people just coming into it that don't know that much, just learning. He pretty much deceives them pretty well.
Yeah, like that one guy that we were talking to about Coriolis, right? Not too long ago, that came in and said, "Oh, Zanuck was helping him out with the Coriolis argument, reference
Exactly.
frames and stuff like that, right?" That guy.
Helping him confuse and brainwash him.
Well, basically, yes,
Yesterday,
because
Zanuck
by
is
the
more
end
than
of
one
that,
science.
after listening to Nathan and us and him go back and forth, at the end of it, he pretty much was like, "Well, yeah, it kind of sounds like you're getting destroyed here, Zanuck, because what you're saying to me doesn't make any sense in the
his big
context of
tact-
this conversation that we're having." Go ahead, Paul. Sorry.
Oh, it's okay. His big tactic. He said this yesterday. He says words don't mean what they mean. I'm going like, what? I'm going like I was defining what a word was, and he said that doesn't mean that. I'm going like that's what the definition is, Annie.
Words don't mean what they mean.
And the
He said
effect
there's
of
more
time
ways
is
to
the
do
cause of time.
science than the scientific method. He said that yesterday.
No, the best one is the
for real.
No, the effect of time is the cause of time.
Yeah, so shutting down communications would be the conclusion to a debate being obfuscated to the point of obscurity. Even if it then gets concluded, it's not being communicated effectively. Therefore, the communication they're shutting down is actually the communication between this show, the panel, and the audience. It's that communication that's being shut down.
Exactly.
Disrupted
They're
would probably be a
obfuscating
better
because
word.
they don't want the audience. They're obfuscating because they do not want the audience to hear the message. So that's why on these shows, they always focus on discrediting the flat earthers that are on those shows. They have to sort of muddy everything that you say because it's for the audience. They want to make sure that any new people that are on the fence or any new people that are viewing this for the first time are only going to hear their narrative.
Yeah. So yesterday when Rumpus was told you're not allowed to beg the question and automatically assume gravity, he just continues on and on and on talking about what happens on the scale. Because it's only their narrative that needs to be heard, so the communication of the actual demolition of the argument never gets heard. It'll just be obfuscated. That's the suspicion.
That's what's been going on from the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, at the hands of these individuals who've been here since the beginning.
That's Snell. Yeah.
You're chopping whoever you are.
Did you? That's so.
You're chopping.
You're chopping, party poet.
Oh,
sounds like party.
I was
poet.
hoping so. As far as Snell's law goes, they keep using, or they used it, and I don't know how to rebuttal because I don't know much about it. And apparently, it's all math. There's nowhere in there that says apparent.
So Snell's law is real. Just about
What
the
are they
change
using Snell's law as a rebuttal to?
Yeah, you'll have to give us a bit more background data. Who's using Snell's law as the rebuttal, and what's it rebutting?
Refraction.
Yeah, and who's asserting it, and what's the context? So, are you using Snell's law to rebut their claim of refraction?
No, I said, what is your proof to live on a ball? It says Snell's law.
Snell's law is the proof they live on a ball.
Yeah, we got there. Okay, so somebody is literally utilizing Snell's law to claim proof of globe.
Let me. No, he just don't understand what we say.
Right. Cue the globe tard. Cue the poisoning of the well. So immediately we've got clarity, and now it's rumpusing. Immediately, I've got to shut down the Discord line because suddenly communication needs to be shut down. Right? So we've got clarity. A globetard's claiming Snell's law proves the globe. Right?
No, we don't.
I wasn't asking you. Mister, I'm going to shut down this communication we're having.
But
That's what
hold
Psyche
up,
does.
was he the one that
Yes,
made the
that's
claim
what you
though?
do. I'm
'Cause
trying
maybe
to
we can clear
talk,
that up real quick.
and I can't.
You weren't
You
trying to
let-
talk. You've
Every time
interrupted.
somebody's
Shut up.
speaking something, Psyche, you jump in. You
Yeah, I
obfuscate.
jump in.
Yeah, shut up.
Because
You
what
This
he's
is your last
telling
chance.
is
Chikey,
wrong.
shut up.
Who's lying?
Chikey,
It's
you've
not what we
interrupted.
say.
This is where we're getting further away from the point. We've got to the conclusion. Globetard claims Snell's law proves globe. Now we've got
we don't.
Fundy interruption constantly.
No, we
Until
don't.
now, reasonable discussion. Fundy interruption
wrong.
time. Now, not a reasonable discussion anymore. He's interrupting you right now. Aren't you, asshole? You're interrupting me right now.
They don't.
Who shut him up? Thank you very much.
He sounds like he's the one who made that claim.
You think?
No, I did it.
You didn't? So why are you stepping up to defend it? What's the matter with you?
Because it's not what we.
Were you part of the conversation that this guy had with whoever he was talking to?
I don't know who he was talking to.
Just
I
shut
never
up and
had
sit
any.
down.
So then what the hell do you know about this
It's
freaking
to do with
situation
you.
that we're talking about? What's the matter with you?
It's nothing
What's your
to do with you.
malfunction?
Sit down and
What's
shut
the
up.
matter with you?
Can someone shut him up, please? I'm tired of this.
Ah, you tired?
Yeah, shut
Don't
up.
let them hear me.
Oh my god.
Oh, Nathan, I'll get in there if you give me a wrench.
No, I've just shut him up. Right, we'll
a wrench
open his
anyway.
mic back up when we've actually concluded the point that this party poet was actually trying to make. So we had a question on the table. All we were doing is establishing the parameters of a question. Suddenly that needs a load of obfuscation. I don't think so. So we've established, third repetition, without any distraction from a globetard, that Snell's law's being claimed to prove the globe. How so, party poet? It doesn't.
Well, parent fraction automatic right.
Chopping again.
Yeah, sorry, I'll start again. Probably too far away. But if it's refraction, it will automatically have the horizon like Chike. But after that, it was nothing but math. And I don't know that.
If what's refracting the horizon?
Well, you go Black Swan, they go bullshit. You go how so? Snell's law.
Snell's law. They got no.
Snell's law explains the black swan now? I've heard that.
Excellent.
That's a new one.
We got there in the end. Excellent.
Black Swan.
the Black Swan
Snell's
hunter.
law kills the Black Swan.
No. What kills the black swan is that there is a horizon in the black swan.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Chike was the one that said there's no horizon on the flat Earth.
Wow, bro, Chikey.
There is.
What's wrong
That's
with
the
you, man?
point, Chicky.
Sorry,
That's
is
the
that your
point.
claim?
There is
Let's
no
just get it clear.
horizon on.
Let's just
There
get it
is
clear,
about
Chikey. Is
20
that your
miles
claim?
away in the
There
black
is-
hole.
Hold on, Neil, hold on. Is that your claim, Chikey, that if it's not a globe Earth horizon, we won't have a horizon? Is that correct?
Yes.
Wow. Jeez,
If it's
man.
not a globe horizon, we're not having any horizon.
No globe, no horizon.
It's not my Fundy globe horizon, then you're not having one.
No horizon for you.
Chikey, you really serious with that? You really think even if it wasn't a globe, there would not be an apparent position where the sky meets the ground? That just would not happen.
Not
you're
what
saying.
I said. There wouldn't be.
It's funny because I see horizon every day.
Neil,
There
hold
wouldn't
on.
be
Neil,
what?
hold on, Chocolate. Let me answer. Go ahead, Chikey.
Yeah. If there was a horizon on flat plane, if there was one, because there wouldn't be, everything would just fade away, would mix into one dark blue somewhere. Nothing will be.
Why do you think there wouldn't be a horizon on a flat plane? What gives you that idea?
I said nothing will be behind.
Yeah. He thinks there's no bottoms up obstruction or concealment on a flat plane. He literally
No.
yeah, we discussed yes, that's what you said. You said that on my
Yeah,
special
you have
recording.
citation.
You're breaking up a bit, Chucky. Is there any chance you can drop and rejoin?
No, I think just was talked over. Do you have any citation for this?
Yes. You have to be a member of my channel though, and then you can see our recording where you
thank
said.
you.
Plug it, Arwin. Plug it.
Yeah, it's on Arwin channel, ARWIJN. Yeah, you have to be a member. It's very cheap. The minimum membership
I
will help you give access to my members only video section.
I don't.
Yeah,
Chikey, you're ruining his plug.
Recording with Chikey is on there.
Can you plug it again? Look, I'll do it. ARWIJN. Be here or be sphere. And be a member. It's very reasonable.
Yes.
Could be a member.
So,
Yeah, if you want to see what we recorded, then you got to be my member. Yeah.
That's enough of the plugs. Right.
No. I asked citation. You didn't provide.
Citation isn't an argument, mate. You don't need citation for anything.
Oh.
You mean, oh, that's correct. You don't need citations.
Okay.
Citations aren't the argument. Do you understand that?
Wait a minute. Didn't he make the claim? You provide the citation.
Yeah, provide that we wouldn't have a vanishing point.
I'm still trying to understand the claim.
We wouldn't have.
Yeah, we know your claim. You wouldn't have one on a flat plane. Yeah, you would. It's called a vanishing point.
Yeah, I was going to ask.
No, I didn't say you
Can you just tell
wouldn't
me
have
what perspective is? Can you tell me what that is?
Not something in his globe model. That's why he's got a silent answer. Doesn't know because it's not part of his model. If it's not, look, you don't understand, Paul. If it's not globe Earth horizon, we're not allowed one. There's no questioning about what could or would cause a horizon. That's not going to be answered. Just stony silences, mate.
I mean, I've got a railroad track on screen, and it's going off in the distance. And it looks, if I look way out there in the distance, it looks like it converges. But does it really? Does it really converge?
Nah, they're parallel. I mean, if you got really low, Paul, to those tracks, you could bring your horizon really close to you. It definitely have nothing to do with Earth curve. But if you lowered down enough to reduce your angle right down, you could bring the horizon to like where these grey tracks change colour. You could get the horizon to be there. It wouldn't be Earth curve. But you just have to get low enough. And it'd bring the horizon right close to you. It's amazing. I mean, you can create horizons with all sorts of things. I can put something in front of me and it will create a horizon. A physical obstruction between me and the sky. I can just hold up a piece of paper now and create a horizon with a piece of paper. It's amazing. But, oh my God, it's not a globe Earth edge. So what, that's not a real horizon that I've just produced with a bit of paper? Yeah, it is.
Yeah, Chike, that claim was just, I mean, I've heard some bad ones, but that's horrible. Bro, it's just perspective. It's just how our eyes work. Obviously, there's going to be a horizon. It does not matter whether it's flat or a globe.
Why would
we're just talking about vision.
Angular limitation, the diffraction limit. Do you want me to explain that to you?
But he doesn't believe in that.
Yeah.
You do want
because
me to
you
explain
can't
it to
see
you?
it on a side view.
You want me to explain it to you?
No.
Okay.
Turn on the light.
Let's see how I get on. So if you take a brick, right, and you put it about a mile away, would you concede that it would be too small to see? A single brick. Let's say it's 18 inches.
But it will not be too small to see. It will be too small to distinguish with other.
That would be too small to see.
No, that's okay, Chikey. Well, about 5 miles. Too small to see?
How bright is the brick?
Sorry, at any point, if I say 1,000,000 miles, will you say maybe just a bit too blurry? What distance do I have to get you to concede that things get too small to see? I can do it with a hair if it's easier. You can do it right now. Pluck a hair out of your head, put it on the table, and walk 20 feet away from it and tell me that it's not too small to see. Have you done that?
No, it's simply not bright.
How far away do you think you can see a human hair before it gets too small to see?
Chikey?
Are you nuts? Do you not understand how perspective works? Things get too small to see. You can't see a human hair forever. That's ludicrous. It's too small at a certain distance. Do you not appreciate that?
Oh my goodness. Are y'all
You can only
listening to
see
this
things in
guy?
autographic view.
Yeah, that's right, Owen. Hold on, do you want to repeat that, Owen?
Yeah, Chaiki has a lot of difficulty basically this making a difference between autographic view and perspective view, and he kind of tends to be locked in this autographic view a lot.
Yeah, we know. If it's not a globe Earth horizon, we're not having one. If it's not side Muppet view, then we're not having a horizon. God damn it. If it's not marked with an X on a curve,
do you
then
have
it's not
any
real.
real life experience? Like, have you ever gone out and used your eyes and moved away from something so far that you can't see it anymore? You
That's a
can't
fair
really
enough
be
question.
serious with this argument, man. I
That's a
can't even
reasonable
take you
question that I
seriously
don't often
right
ask, Chocolate. Are you actually blind?
No.
Basically, yeah.
So you appreciate that a hair will eventually get too small to see if you back away from it far enough?
Well, he might not be
If it's
blind,
not
but he
bright-
might be bald. So let's change the hair to something else.
No, I want to hear his experience.
Yeah,
Why wouldn't you see the hair anymore?
Guys, I just need him to concede it so I can then scale it up to a brick. I've worked backwards to work forwards. We're getting somewhere slowly. Well, we're probably not.
He won't play the
Yeah,
game.
let's try.
Sorry, is this you about to give my
lamp.
example? We still haven't concluded. Are you going to now give me the example because we haven't got the very first opening premise established of my example you asked for and said you would listen to? So far, no concession. You don't concede a hair would disappear if you backed far enough away from it. Really? My God, stony silence.
No, I said no.
No, you think your human eyesight is capable of seeing a human hair at any distance?
Can you see my hair right
You're
now?
just being a liar.
It's just being moronic. This is what we're dealing with.
No,
it's like if you argue that you can have gas in the air when it vaporizes from a liquid, and the opponent goes, "You think water vapor's a gas? You think a hair disappears at a mile? Ha ha ha!" That's the stage rat. You can't debate with these retards. Yeah, mate, let me lay it out
Yeah,
for you,
you can.
because you're a complete fuckwit. A hair will disappear if you get too far away from it, and so will a brick. Now, either you concede this right now, or this conversation's over, because you're too dumb to talk to us.
So I can't say anything different.
I'm making the example, I just need you to nod along. With a minor comprehension of perspective. That would be a hair getting too small to see, or a brick getting too small to see. You haven't conceded. It's pathetic.
Yeah, can we proceed?
It is
Can we?
actually?
No, we can't do anything.
We can't proceed.
No, we can't do anything till you accept this fact of fucking life.
Can
I
talk
want
for a
to
sec? Chicky,
explore this
What-
fact.
what-
You want to
If
do
you
something, do you, while
realize
I'm making my
somebody's just
example? You want to do something, do you? No, mate. No. We're
Yeah, I
explaining that
have
your
an
idiocy in
example.
regards to this horizon that you think would only exist inside profile marked with an X. Yet we can have horizons. Perspective is real. Just because it's not in your globe maths and is in fact a hijacking of this very effect doesn't mean when we pummel your R value and destroy it, we can't then take the painstaking effort to explain that perspective's still bloody real. But you won't concede it because it must be somehow related to your Muppet Vision globe belief. It isn't. Reality doesn't include your fundamentalist zealot belief we're on a bloody globe. Perspective is real. It's just not attributable in your maths for a globe. So what? You're not on a globe, mate.
Chicky, are you one of those people that think flat earthers made up perspective?
No, I think
I've
I
been
think they don't
told that
understand
before
what.
by a glober.
So two things about the calculator. It doesn't count perspective or it doesn't count refraction. Oh, but then it doesn't count refraction. But then it doesn't count perspective. So what's going on? I don't understand.
It's the begging the question, proof of nothing, perspective hijacking Earth curve calculator. It's taken the effect of perspective and called it Earth curve by turning your view 90 degrees and showing you the side of your own head when comparing pictures to an actual representation of reality with a left to right horizon, not a side view of a marked X on a curved Earth based on R. We do not have a geometric horizon, but you'd require one if we're on a globe Earth. With that, I'm going to say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who did tune in on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream for hopefully smashing the super chat, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, and all that good stuff. Of course, a massive thank you to today's Discord and G Plus panels for making today's live and after show possible. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!